At first it was barely noticeable. A few coastal towns reported that their tides were lower than usual, fishing boats resting oddly on the sand. Scientists spoke of rare currents, tectonic shifts, even a temporary redistribution of water. But soon it became undeniable: the oceans were shrinking. Every morning I biked to the shore before work. One day, the familiar sound of waves was gone. The beach stretched further than I had ever seen, a long plain of damp sand with the sea a faint line on the horizon. Children wandered across the exposed seabed, picking up starfish that gasped and twitched in the open air. By the end of the week, entire reefs were jutting into the sun like the bones of giants. Panic followed disbelief. Fishing industries collapsed. Ports became deserts of rusted ships tilting on their sides. Nations argued, accusing one another of secret experiments or catastrophic drilling. But none of the explanations matched the scale. Within months, every ocean on Earth had withered to shallow puddles, then to nothing. Life changed quickly. Rain stopped falling, crops withered, rivers turned into canyons of dust, millions fled inland searching for drinkable water. Governments issued rationing laws, then collapsed under riots. But for those of us who stayed near the empty seas, something stranger began to reveal itself. The ocean floors were not what anyone expected. We thought we would find endless ridges and sand. Instead, we found patterns, lines too straight, curves too deliberate. At first, explorers assumed they were natural formations shaped by ancient currents. But the deeper they ventured, the clearer it became. The seabed was covered in carvings. I joined a research group in what used to be the Pacific. We descended for days into the dry trench, surrounded by cliffs of salt and rock. And there, where once the deepest waters had pressed, we discovered structures, not ruins, machines. They were massive, stretching for miles, fused into the crust of the earth itself. Black, seamless surfaces hummed faintly, like the low throb of blood in your ears. No rust, no cracks, untouched by time. They hadn't been exposed for the first time. They had been waiting. That night, I dreamed of waves, not rising, but retreating, sucked downward into endless chasms. Voices whispered beneath the roar, "The reservoirs are full, the cycle is complete." When I woke, my companions were pale. Each of them had dreamed the same thing. Over the next weeks, more of the machines emerged across the world, under the Atlantic, the Indian, the Arctic. They weren't isolated, they were connected, forming a network of colossal gates that pulsed with light. The governments that still functioned tried to study them, but their drones never returned. The closer anyone came, the louder the humming grew, until it wasn't just sound but pressure, vibrating through every bone. And then the machines opened. Not with a crash or explosion, just silence, followed by light spilling into the sky. From the vast hollow mouths of the structures rose shapes, towers of liquid and metal twisting together, glistening like columns of living water. They moved with purpose, slowly lifting toward the stratosphere, carrying something with them. That's when we understood, the oceans hadn't evaporated, they had been drained. The machines had siphoned every drop into hidden chambers, then released it upward in spiraling rivers. Across the world, the sky glittered with streams of stolen water, pulled into orbit and beyond, vanishing into the dark like offerings to the stars. The final broadcast came from an observatory scientist. His voice was shaking, yet strangely calm. "We thought the oceans belonged to us, but Earth was never ours. It was a storage vessel, a farm, and the owners have returned for what they left behind." As I stood on the cracked seabed where I used to swim as a child, I could see them, vast rivers of blue light winding upward, carried by those towering constructs into the heavens. And high above, just visible through the haze, hung colossal silhouettes, waiting to collect their harvest. In that moment, the truth was inescapable. Humanity hadn't lost its oceans, we had only borrowed them. And now the debt had come due.